In today's Take a Day, I want to talk about a player for the Los Angeles Clippers that can become an unsung hero for them going into this season. Now, before we get into that, though, please like, subscribe, also hit the notification bell just so you can get the newest and the bonus content first. We put our content every day so you won't miss any content here. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into this here. So, when I talk about the unsung hero for the Clippers, I mean, you can point that to a lot of players, or at least maybe a couple off top of your head going into this season. One of those players that most people might look at and say could be an unsung hero for the Clippers definitely could be Terrence Mann, just because of the stardom that's around him right now. A lot of eyes are on him, and a lot of attention's on him just because he could play both ends of the floor, and he's not a great scorer or anything like that, but he can put up some points, and he does have nights. He will have nights where he puts up huge points, just the way he did in that Utah game, in the 7-game series they had against 6-game series they had against Utah in the playoffs, and propelled the Clippers to victory. Like I said, even when Paul George didn't show up that game, which really opened a lot of people's eyes, because a lot of people thought that series was going back to Utah in a Game 7, which a lot of people believe, even myself, believe that Utah probably would have won that game if they would have went back to Utah, unless Terrence Mann erupted the way he did and showed everybody that he is a more than adequate player, and he can definitely be a name in the NBA, and he can definitely fit in on a roster and help a team possibly win. You see what I'm saying? So, you could look at him as an unsung hero going into this season. And, of course, you can, we'll see exactly, how the season pans out. But another unsung hero, of course, could be, Marcus Morris, because I've always said if he stays consistent in his shooting and his scoring and follow that up and let that, and dwell on that and go into the playoffs with that consistency and have it during the regular season as well, not only the Clippers will find themselves in a better seed in regards to playoff standings, but they'll actually be a better team overall, with and without Kawhi Leonard, because without Kawhi Leonard, you're missing his 30 points a game. But if Marcus Morris can give you, a consistent 20 a game, it'll take a lot of pressure off of Paul George until Kawhi Leonard comes back, and then they can have the unified team together, and they could really make a run to playoffs, because now they would have Marcus Morris playing consistent on both ends, and you got a consistent player coming off the bench playing both ends and Terrence Mann. And if you get what you get out of Reggie Jackson, which I believe he can, mimic what he did last year, and of course Kawhi and PG, now they got a really, really tough team that a lot of people don't want to face in a 7-game series, because the scoring is coming from everywhere, and the defensive, mindedness of all those players are on the other end of the floor as well. So you're getting basically, the best two-way player in the game going against you in Kawhi Leonard, maybe the second best, arguably in some people's mind, in Paul George. And you got some, adequate two-way players in, Marcus Morris, who can play both ends, and Terrence Mann, who will play both ends as well. So it's like, when you have that type of defensive, with those type of defensive players who don't mind playing defense and who gives you consistency on offense, it's going to make the Clippers hard to beat. But at the same time, to me, the unsung hero for the Clippers going into this season, to me, it should be Luke Kennard. Or it could be Luke Kennard, I should say, because they gave Luke Kennard $64 million a couple seasons ago, or about a year ago, however long it's been. They gave him that money with the intention of him being not only a knockdown shooter, but somebody who can also make plays at times. And, when I've seen Luke Kennard play, I've seen him make plays. I've seen him be a decent facilitator, some decent playmaker. He's very unselfish. He doesn't mind passing. And with his ability with the pick and roll that they have, with him being on the floor, he has the ability to knock down a jumper, of course, but he also has the ability to make plays. And I feel like he can definitely do that, because he's shown a lot of that, in Duke when he was playing. And when he came into the NBA, on the Detroit Pistons, he showed it some, a little bit of his playmaking ability. So I feel like, he could be that unsung hero for the Clippers because he might be somebody that they utilize a lot more because last year he shot close to 45% from threes. I mean, that was, very impressive. So if you got a high volume shooter like that who can knock down shots like that, I mean, that's a high clip and a high rate, and that's a very valuable player. And one thing about Luke Kennard that I say that a lot of people won't ever really give him credit for, he definitely plays better on defense than what people think he does. I've seen him match up against an offender, and he can move his feet really well, better than what people think. And like I said, he's real, I would say, he's really, really feisty on defense because he'll definitely get up in you. He'll definitely get close to you. He'll definitely bother you or try to. And, he's not the most athletic guy, but he definitely tries hard on defense. And I've seen him get some big steals for the Clippers in games where it was altering, game-changing type play. I've seen in a couple games last season. The one game I always point out is the Atlanta game where they were down like 20-something points. And he got some big crucial steals. And he made some big shots, crucial shots that helped them come back in that game, along with Terrence Mann, the way the rest of the bench was playing to get them back into the game to win it when Kawhi Leonard basically just ended it in the fourth quarter. But my point is, I've seen him go out there and play defense, move his feet, play hard, and he's definitely a knockdown shooter. So to me, I look at him being somebody that could be one of the unsung heroes for the Clippers. To me, he should be the unsung hero. But of course, you might have an opinion in regards to maybe somebody else being an unsung hero for the Clippers. But I definitely think he should be it because the money they gave him, they had high expectations of Luke Kennard. And when you pay a player who played on a team like the Pistons prior to playing on your team and didn't really show that much or didn't have the opportunity to show how good he could be because of how sorry the team was on Detroit, you're taking a risk. You're taking a huge risk and you're going on a hunch that you feel like this player is more than adequate to live up to the money you're paying him. So when I look at the money they're paying Luke Kennard, now that Kawhi Leonard's out, it's okay to ask more from him because they should have been doing that anyway. Because, paying somebody that type money just to come off the bench or something like that, that's a lot of money. 60 plus million is a lot of money to be coming off the bench and not really contributing or not. I'm not going to say not contributing, but not really scoring or putting up that many points, or something like that. That's a lot of money to be coming off the bench. And Luke Kennard, I feel like this is the opportunity for him to really kind of show everybody what he really can do. Not only shoot 40+% from three, but play on defense and make some big plays on defense at times. Guard somebody really well on defense and cause turnovers. Use his playmaking ability that he has, where he can utilize the pick and roll and not take the jumper for himself, but do a bounce pass. Maybe to somebody cutting to the basket like Nicholas Batum, or maybe Terrence Mann, or maybe even Marcus Morris, or maybe even Paul George. This is what I'm saying. This is the time where you should see more Luke Kennard implemented in the offense and literally show everybody what he really can do and how his skill set can help the Clippers get over the hump in a lot of games where most teams won't even be thinking that Luke Kennard would be one of the guys that can actually, make an impact. Because really, when you look at him last year, a lot of games he played in, nobody really took Luke Kennard serious. A lot of people, you can even tell players on the floor when they looked at him, they just kind of looked over him or looked past him. But when he started knocking down threes, hitting big shots, making plays, making a few plays on defense here and there, causing turnovers, and, his playmaking ability that he showed very briefly last year, it opened eyes to some Clippers fans and some basketball fans, of course, but it didn't open enough. So my thing is, I feel like he's not going to, be an overwhelmingly scorer on the Clippers this season or anything like that. So don't get that twisted, but he definitely should be a focal point in regards to a piece that's going to help them win a lot of games, because his shooting ability can, stretch the floor, open up the floor more for a lot of other players. gives them a lot of more one-on-one competition. And on top of that, you got to look at it this way. Like I said, if he can come in there and be a playmaker some as well, if he can give you, well, I guess I should say, depending on how many minutes he gets, what Ty Lue decides to do with him minutes-wise, how many minutes he plays per game now that Kawhi's out for a while. If he can give you somewhere around, I'd say, about 12 to 15 points with maybe 4 assists, that's very, very productive, especially if, Ty Lue has him coming off the bench. If he can give you 12 and 4 a game, that's very productive. Very productive. And if he does it shooting at a high percentage, a high clip, that's very productive. Now, if you can get, more than 12 to 15 points a game from him, of course you take that. That's additional. But 12 to 15 should be his range. And, 4 assists a game should be around where he should be. And, playing, hard as he can on defense. And he could definitely be an unsung hero for them because he would be that player that doesn't get noticed in regards to the point total that he puts out there. But the consistency that I think Luke Kennard would give you can definitely be valuable for the Clippers throughout this season as long as they don't have Kawhi Leonard. Because I said before, Kawhi Leonard makes up for a lot of deficiencies and inconsistencies that the Clippers have. He just does. And he even does it with Paul George. I know a lot of people think, Paul George is, a lot, is really good, and he's going to come out this year and play, the best he's played in a while. And I think he's going to do the same thing. I think the same thing about Paul George. But at the same time, I'm just saying Paul George has those inconsistency ways that doesn't help teams get over the hump. And I've seen Paul George in, MVP conversations when he was on OKC. He was an MVP candidate for that year, and I think he's going to be that for this year probably. But at the same time, winning in the regular season and winning in the postseason is two different things. And Paul George, even though I think he's going to have a really breakout season, he's going to need players like Luke Kennard's and Terrence Mann's. He's going to need their consistency, which is going to help the Clippers be a formidable team this year. Because at times, Paul George just isn't consistent. So because that's one of his flaws, or that's been one of his flaws throughout his game up until this point in his career, maybe up until last year in the playoffs, he's going to need that consistency from other players. And if you can get that from a player like Luke Kennard, who a lot of people don't expect to be a factor or much of a factor. Well, I should say a lot of people outside of Clipper Nation anyway. A lot of people outside of Clipper Nation do not expect him to be a factor or any type of focal point to allow the Clippers to be a formidable team. Then that's what the Clippers are going to need. And I definitely think Luke Kennard can step up in that opportunity, in that role to do that if given the opportunity by Ty Lue. But hey, that's my take on the situation. Leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Do you think Luke Kennard can be an unsung hero for the Clippers going into this season? Or he will be? Or will it be another player? Leave any comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know your opinion. And hey, Cali out.